In this video, I'm going to tell you that how to correctly configure the different parts of this application and install this application successfully. So for that purpose, what you need to have is to grab on and to install a XAMPP server or any other offline server, web server, which you prefer the best. So XAMPP is actually a web server and it is now currently running on the Apache, and MySQL is currently running on in that. And make sure that these two are running successfully. Now what you need to have is to grab on your computer IP address, because that is very important. It's gonna actually help us to communicate and provide a service communication. So I'm gonna get into the command prompt and scroll to the bottom, and in here I'm just gonna write ipconfig. So after writing ipconfig, I'm gonna press enter, and then I'm gonna scroll to the up position, and in here I'm gonna find out my IP address. So this is actually my computer IP address, and I'm gonna use this IP address as a communication service. I'm just gonna minimize it. Now the next thing I'm gonna have to do is to set up the MySQL database. So inside the htdocs folder of XAMPP server, I've created a directory named as Android Chatter. If I double click on Android Chatter, I'd find out the 4 different classes: the error log, the Android chatter.sql, index.php, and mysql.clause.php. And you must be familiar with index.php and Android chatter.sql. This is actually the SQL database which we have created in the previous tutorials, and this is actually the index.php, from which this is actually a server, a web server. So what I need to do is to upload this SQL to my database and queries, and to configure this index.php. So what I need to do is to open a web browser and write localhost/phpMyAdmin. So it will get me to this interface. In here, what I need to do is to create a database. So I'm going to give it a name of Chatter, CHATTER, and I'm just gonna click on create button. So after creating a Chatter, I would have a new database with the name of Chatter. I'm just gonna import the queries in here. So I'm just gonna choose the file, and then I'm gonna actually choose and import this Android chatter.sql file which we have created. I'm just gonna click open and click go. And after a few seconds, it will tell me that import has been successfully finished and 5 queries executed. So it means that we have actually successfully executed the queries. Now if I just click on the Chatter database, I would find 3 tables, that is friend, messages, and users, that are very important. The friends table would contain actually the records of friends, and the messages would contain the records of messages, and the user would actually be used for authentication purposes. Now the next step I'm going to have to do is to change the IP address of this area with the IP address of my own computer, which I have previously configured out and found out in the command prompt. So when I'm going to have to put out the IP address in here of my own local computer, there should not be a 127.0.0.1 or a local host. You should write your own computer IP address, then it will work perfectly. If you just placed the 127.0.0.1, then it will create some problems, and as well as a local host will create problems. And this is actually the folder name Android Chatter, in which we have actually stored our web server index.php. So after doing these kind of steps, now you are good to go and you are able to launch your application. So I'm going to click on run button and would begin to launch my application in the Android emulator. It will ask me to run this application. I'm going to click on Android emulator, and it will begin to upload in Android emulator. On the next side, I'm just going to scroll in here, and in the bin folder, I'm going to click on the Android charter.apk file. It will actually open this APK file in BlueStack. So I'm going to double click on it, and then it will begin to open the file in a BlueStack. And that's it. Now we have successfully launched both the application in both emulators. and I've already shown you in the demo video that how this application works out.